But I do. You know, so you know whose order to deploy federal troops to Chicago and Portland has some judges calling this an overreach of his authority. And state leaders like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker expressing outrage over his threats to invoke the Insurrection Act. Take a look.
The Trump administration is following a playbook: cause chaos, create fear and confusion. Why? To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops to our city. He wants to justify and normalize the presence of armed soldiers under his direct command.
So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that.
We have seen over the last 9 months an ongoing legal insurrection in which district court judges, as a class, in many cases, have issued, which is why they've been overturned so much, have issued rulings that are flagrantly unlawful and unconstitutional, and it is an insurrection against the laws and Constitution of the United States.
Well, okay, let's start. Let me tell you about this. The Insurrection Act allows the president to nationally deploy the U.S. military or federalized National Guard troops to quell what the president deems an insurrection against the U.S. or combat a crisis that is beyond the scope of civilian law enforcement. The act does not impose martial law. It permits the military to assist civilian authorities but not take their place. Martial law involves temporary military authority over civilian law enforcement. So if any of those folks, and I always say, just crack the Constitution if you want to know what these things are. They're not cracking the Constitution. They're doing all kind of wacky stuff, and people are saying, hey, we don't like it. And state leaders are telling them, do not send troops. Yeah. But he seems to be doing it anyway. I don't know if we've ever been here. I know in my lifetime, I've never.
Well, the Insurrection Act has been ordered by other people.
Yes.
Lincoln and
yes.
Rodney King in the
1992, H.W. Bush.
They got it.
But the governors
it wasn't done on January 6th, though. It wasn't.
If anybody knows about an insurrection, it's Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't invoked then. It wasn't invoked then.
The thing about it is that him sending military into Portland had an ICE facility protest of 8 to 15 people. That was it. Because he sent them in there, it's gotten worse. So he creates the problem.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find, when you watch the January 6th footage, and I think they were just playing some, we all saw that, and no one had to tell you how to feel about it. You looked at it and you made your own judgment, and it was pretty clear to me. I was trying to dig deep because I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to concede. Is this rising to the occasion where we need the National Guard? The crowds that they are drawing are a fraction of when it's been used in history, when they've actually decided to deploy the National Guard into these places. And I would just ask for some consistency then, because when I look at the video of January 6th, that was very clearly people uprising, vandalizing the Capitol,
an insurrection,
killing, very much an insurrection. But there was video. I kept looking for video here to say, when are we seeing things to this level? Because this administration is known for its messaging and owning a narrative. If they were seeing that, I feel they would have pasted it everywhere. The problem is when you go looking for these videos, sometimes the aggressors are the law enforcement and the ICE agents. Yeah. So that's problematic to their messaging.
Well, I think that's why you're not seeing it. And I think we need to call it what it is when we see something like this. This is the government, President Trump, trying to militarize our states across the country. And you need only look at Project 2025. This is the plan. It's a 900-page document. I read it.
You read all 900 pages?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm that much of a legal nerd. But I actually think that people should read it because it is right on page 555. That was part of the plan, to militarize our troops, our National Guard against our states. It's right there in writing, folks. This was always the plan, and we are experiencing it. So if you go back and you read it, past will become prologue. So you've got to just read it and you'll know what happens.
Well, and I come down on the side of probably tough on crime and think that this election came down to roughly three things: the cost of living, the border, and crime. But there is a right way and a wrong way to deal with crime in American cities. So Chicago's often pointed to. They had one weekend over the summer where there was something like 28 homicides. That's not right. But how do you historically deal with crime in American cities in a way that doesn't escalate violence? You first see if the governor and if the mayor needs law enforcement to support the existing law enforcement.
Correct.
You make sure it has enough funding, that they have the proper training. And then if necessary, you deploy federal law enforcement. So this would be FBI and other trained law enforcement who deal with these kind of crimes to work with local officials. Instead, what you have is the federal government not working with the state officials and then jumping to this nth degree step, which is bringing in the National Guard or, God forbid, the U.S. military. It's not the way to address the problem, if it even is as significant as it is. There is crime in American cities, but the way to deal with it is get the funding that you need for police, get the training that you need, and work with local officials.
This is a pretext to stop the next election. That's what I think it is.
I would say it might also be a distraction from the hearing that's going on right now about the Epstein files.
Right.
Some things have come up, and AG Pam Bondi was dodging questions and attacking back. Do you not think maybe the whole civil unrest storyline
Well, I
is
also
maybe
could be.
overblown?
I think that Donald Trump also sees American troops in U.S. cities as a sign of strength. I think most Americans don't. I think they see it as like societal breakdown. But I also think he wants to go Democrats into saying there's no crime in American cities, there's no problem.
Yeah, but
And that's where people need to
He
be
only goes
careful.
to
Democrats
Democratic
always-
cities, though.
you know-
He never
you-
goes where the real
But the
crime is.
bottom line, because listen, there is crime everywhere.
Oh, it was
Everywhere.
58 people shot in Chicago in one weekend.
Okay,
Not 28.
but if
And
you look
Portland, they're
at
drinking lattes in Portland.
And it's one city block. It's one city block around a federal.
but the bottom line is nobody asked for you.
That's
Yes.
right.
There are people there that do this for a living.
Yes.
There
Yes.
are police officers and FBI folks
Yeah.
in every state.
And Whoopi, most importantly, it is to Alyssa's point, when the Insurrection Act has been invoked,
Mhm.
the governor
Yes, the
has
governor
asked for it. In
asked.
1992,
Yes.
during the LA riots, when the Insurrection Act was invoked, the governor of California asked for that.
Yes, that's
This is
how-
very different.
This
what
is
we're
different.
seeing now.
This is in order to make the case, because in their minds, in all of their minds, they now believe they have carte blanche to do whatever they want to.
That's right, yes.
That's what the feeling is.
And